All right, do we have everybody? Is Yaruj on?
Yep, I am.
Oh, there she is. Perfect. All right. Well, let's get started. It's 11:30 Central Standard Time here in the great state of Minnesota. Is the JBX team ready? Perfect, perfect. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Good morning to the webinar called Beyond the Algorithm: How to Build SEO That Stands the Test of Time. I'm Jonathan Watkins, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and co-founder of JBX Strategies. We're a digital marketing agency that helps home service businesses and local businesses grow through smart, sustainable marketing, not short-term hacks. And that's really a fancy way of saying we're going to get you a 3 to 5 times return on investment at a minimum. The reason why I wanted to do this webinar is simple. SEO has gotten really noisy. You've got AI, you've got algorithm updates, you got ranking volatility. It's really easy to lose focus on what actually drives results. And so today, I'm going to walk you through what doesn't change. And that really is the fundamentals that have worked for over a decade and how to blend them with today's AI tools to build SEO that last. And with that thought, this is our fourth webinar in our webinar series. And I'm excited to have Joshua Tudor on with us. He's JBX full-time SEO person. And this webinar is a little bit more technical than we've done in the past, but it's important with everything that's going on with AI and the Google changes. So if at the end of this, we will have a Q&A. So if there's anything technical and you want to have a question, feel free to throw that in chat. We've got Yaruj Qureshi with us. She is monitoring the chat as well. And so that would be great. All right, slide 2. We've got a lot to cover. So here's what we're going to cover today. I'll run through this real quick. The timeless principles behind, SEO growth, why chasing every Google update actually hurts your rankings, right? How do you balance AI tools with human-centered content? And we're going to talk a lot about content today. And finally, the practical steps you can take in the next 60 days to future-proof your marketing strategy. We've got less than 60 days until 2026. Now is the time to get after it. Don't wait till January 1st. So, my goal for you is to leave this webinar with clear, actionable ideas, not just theory. We love theory. We love textbooks. I could have stayed in college forever, but theory doesn't work here. We've got to execute. So hopefully that sounds good, and let's dive in. Let's start with a little reality check. Google makes thousands of changes a year, and the number that we have is over 4,500 changes in 2024 alone. And I don't have the final number because we're still wrapping up 2025, but I'm going to guess that it's roughly the same, if not more. Then you add in AI search, voice assistants, video snippets, and the landscape out there from a marketing standpoint keeps shifting. The problem is most brands react to those updates, instead of preparing for them. So we want to prepare for them. We want to have you stop chasing these rankings instead of building the systems, right? You chase the rankings, and if you have the foundation and the building blocks in place, and we can get real deep into that, and that's not this webinar, that can be it for another time, but you want to be able to scale. And the truth is, the goal isn't to beat the algorithm, it's to build beyond that. And when you think of it that way, updates become opportunities, not setbacks. All right, the foundations of SEO. And this might be the most important slide. So if you get nothing out of it, pay attention to this slide. Even with all the change, some things haven't changed in 15 years. And content that actually answers real human questions is the key to success. Websites that load fast and are technically sound. When we got into this business 3 years ago, we spent, Brent and I spent, my business partner, we spent 25 years in technology, and we were one of the nation's leading technology suppliers. And we obviously had a website, but I didn't realize how fast a website loads is super, super important. So if you need a speed test on your website, certainly reach out, because it is absolutely, it has to be technically sound. And then building authority is built on trust, relevance, and real world credibility. And content aligned with search intent, not just stuffed with keywords. We've all seen blogs and posts that are just keyword stuffed, and it looks ridiculous, right? It doesn't read well. And, so yeah, you've got to make it aligned with your search. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So if you do those 4 things right, every future Google update will reward you and not penalize you. All right, chasing the algorithm and why it fails. Here's what most marketers go wrong, right? And especially if you guys are a small business owner, like I said, this is a little bit more technical than the past webinars. For you owner operators out there, you may not be doing any marketing today, or you've got someone that's doing some of that stuff. So, if you don't have anyone doing this for you, you should have someone look at it. But my point is where most marketers go wrong is they panic after every Google update and they rewrite everything. They stuff in new keywords. They buy sketchy backlinks. Basically, they run on the hamster wheel of reactivity, and you can't get off it. And that cycle burns time, it burns money, and it really hurts trust, right? So you might see some short-term spike, but it's never stable. At JBX, we like to call it algorithm chasing or algorithm chase cycle. It's always moving, but it's never growing. The alternative is building a strategy and systems that adapt automatically because they're rooted in the fundamentals. So what do we do? What's the mindset shift? What's the mindset shift from reaction to strategy? This is the big mindset shift. If I want you to take away today, stop reacting and start building. Build systems, focus on people first, search engine second, and measure success by trust and engagement, not traffic. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Focus on people first, search engine second, and measure success by trust and engagement, not just traffic. One of my other lines is the algorithm doesn't decide who wins. Your customer experience does. And we call that CX or customer X, customer experience. That's really our core philosophy behind how we run SEO at JBX Strategies. And I want to talk, I brought this book up before, but Stephen Covey wrote a book many years ago. I think I was back in college, so I think it's probably 25 years old, but it was before they came out with Atomic Habits. So if you read Atomic Habits, this was prior to Atomic Habits. But Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that, he says, quote, true change begins with a paradigm shift. Covey said, if you want small changes, work on your behavior. If you want quantum improvements, work on your paradigms. What does that mean for us marketers and business owners on this webinar? Excuse me. For customer experience, that means not just about training your staff or writing better scripts. It's about changing how your organization sees customers. From transactions to relationships, from touch points to journeys, from service recovery to trust building. All right, the role of AI in modern SEO. Now let's talk about AI. It's obviously been the buzzword of the year. It's in the Wall Street Journal. It's in every paper. It's in all the marketing material that we're reading. You can't get away from it, right? And so, AI is really, really incredible. With that being said, it's not a strategy. It's a tool. Okay. You can use AI to analyze your keywords, cluster topics, generate outlines. It's a great efficiency booster. Here's the thing. AI doesn't know your audience. It doesn't know your clients' pain points, and it doesn't know your brand or voice. That's why human creativity and empathy still win. AI can scale content, but only humans can make it meaningful. All right, balancing AI and human-centered SEO. Here's how we approach it at JBX. AI handles the heavy lifting, the keyword clustering, the outlines, the optimization suggestions, but humans, meaning your marketing team or whoever's handling your marketing for your company, maybe it's you as the owner, handle the storytelling, the editing, and the emotional connection. Think of it this way: AI accelerates, humans elevate. And when you merge the two, you get efficient production and authentic connection. That's how you win the next generation of search. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call ICP. If you guys are looking for an easy way to start this around content and content creation that's authentic, I want you to do two things. And you can certainly use Grok or AI or ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the search engines that you're using. And again, if you don't have anything in your toolbox for that, reach out to us or our team. We'll get you set up. We can show you where to go free of charge. We want to help everyone out. But I want you to do two things. I want you to start keeping, whether you call it a black book or a little notebook by your desk, or if you're out in the field in your truck, driving around, working with customers, keep a book of FAQs, and that's frequently asked questions. What questions are your clients asking you? Write those down. And then if you have a receptionist or someone answering your phone, when they're calling your office, what questions are they asking? How much is it to build a retaining wall? What does a typical landscape project cost? What does it cost to replace my furnace? What does it cost to replace my air conditioner? What do I look for in a commercial landscaping company? So start thinking in terms of FAQs and keep a list of all the questions that your clients are asking you. That's number one. Number two, and this is really important, especially going into the last 60 days of the year. If you guys can do what's called an ICP or an ideal customer profile, I want you to go through your customers and pull out the ones that are profitable, pull out the ones that are nice to work with. They've got good culture, you get along, you've got a nice Google review from them. What is your ideal customer profile? Is there a revenue minimum? If it's a consumer, is it a married couple that has a household income of $250,000 or higher? I want you to really start thinking what is your perfect ideal customer? You take that with the FAQ, and all your content for 2026 should be built around who your ideal customer profile is and the FAQs. And then we do it for our clients, but you can do it as I mentioned, and it's super important, as I'm saying it again, is all your content should be based around those two things. And that'll build social proof. And that's kind of where the next slide, if you want to touch that, is future proofing your SEO strategy. That'll give you social proof. It'll build up trust. It'll build up credibility, and you'll come across as authentic. All right. Went off a little bit on that slide, but I thought that was important. Future proofing your SEO strategy. So how do you build SEO that lasts? It's not just trends. Here's 5 key takeaways. Audit it quarterly. Fix decay before it spreads, right? Diversity formats, right? Blogs, video, short form content. Meet users where they are. And we had a conversation with our team this morning. We do a lot of posting for our clients, right? It's one of our services. And typically, historically, it's been, and if you look at our posting, we have got to get better as well, because we've got basically a graphic, a static graphic, and then we've got some copy, right? Well, the engagement isn't where we'd like it to be. Now, Google rewards that, right? They want consistency and they want to see that you're posting. So they're looking to make sure that you've got everything covered. So Google really likes that you've got that posting. If you're not doing it, you've got to start doing video. I know it's going to be uncomfortable for you. There's teleprompters. There's a lot of tools out there that you can use, but we've all got a phone and a video recorder in front of us. Do not be afraid to use it and just start. And we could do a whole webinar on that. But the point is you've got blogs, you've got video, you've got short form content, and you've got to meet your clients or your users where they're at. And that goes back to that paradigm shift. You got to think like your customers and create content around that. And, what are the real trust signals? Are your Google reviews working? Are you getting consistent Google reviews? Are you using a reviews and listing software? Are you looking at your backlinks? Are you looking at, local mentions, things like that? So measure engagement. And I guess that's the point of this slide is, measure user engagement. Wow, what a tongue turner that is. Not just clicks, right? Are people commenting? Are they sharing that with a comment? Things like that. How are people interacting with you, right? Your SEO should be the backbone of your brand, not a Band-Aid. And again, we've talked about it before, but SEO is just one channel. If you've got outbound sales as a channel, you've got email marketing as a channel, you've got your Chamber of Commerce networking, you may have your BNI. SEO is just one of, about 8 or 9 different channels. So, but it's probably the most important. Are you getting form fills? Do you have a form fill page on your website? Things like that. All right, let's talk about some real world results. Quick case study for you here. I can show you what this looks like in practice. We had a new client come to us, and they were frustrated. They had built a new website, and we did an audit on it, and it was just full of keyword stuff content that wasn't converting. And what we did is we shifted their strategy toward what we call intent-based content. And again, like I've mentioned in previous slides, what that is we answer real customer questions. We did improve their website speed. It was okay on the desktop, but when we got to the mobile, it was brutal. And about 83% of people are using their mobile phone, and that's what they're searching on, right? And then we improved their site speed. And then, most importantly, and I haven't brought it up yet on this webinar, but is your Google business profile up to date? Are you guys adding content to your Google business profile? Are you taking those FAQs and answering questions on that GBP? So 6 months later, after we got the reviews and listings up, we got their Google business profile update. 6 months later, you can see the results on the slide, but their organic traffic skyrocketed. It went up 43%. Their conversion rate went up 27%. And again, if you notice at JBX, those numbers are great. All we care about is getting you guys at a minimum is a 3 to 5%, or our clients a 3 to 5% return on investment. And they went from being on the residential, they have a commercial side and a residential side, and we're working on the commercial side. They were booked out 3 days. And today they're booked out 6 weeks. And you know what we're doing for them today? We're doing Google and Facebook ads for hiring. So they've got a great problem to have, right? So not only are we doing their SEO, we're actually doing ads for hiring people. So that's what happens when you stop chasing updates and you start building a strategy. All right. And I think we're almost done. We've got a few minutes left. All right, so let's wrap this up with, 3 key takeaways. Serve your clients, not the algorithm. Combine AI tools with authentic expertise. No one can replace you as a business owner or a general manager or a sales rep. Be authentic. Use your expertise. And then build systems that adapt, not quick fixes that fade. And this will help you scale. If you're a $400,000 company, you want to get to 800,000, have systems that can scale. Because, at the end of the day, SEO that lasts is built on trust, clarity, and purpose. And if you remember that, you'll never have to panic after another algorithm update again. All right. Well, that wraps it up. I do want to say thank you very much for attending. I know your time is very valuable. Time is really our most valuable asset. And especially when you get to be my age. I just turned 56 here in September. So life is going by fast. But I really want to say thank you guys for attending this. Like I mentioned, time is a very valuable asset. So I'm grateful for everyone that jumped on this session. I hope it helps you think, differently about SEO, not as a checklist, but as, a long-term growth engine. And again, we've been blessed at JBX in our prior careers. If you'd like a free audit of your SEO or just want to talk through your strategy, head to jbxstrategies.com, book a strategy session, or you can email me at info@jbxstrategies, or you can certainly reach out to my email, Jonathan, and that's JONATHAN at jbxstrategies.com. Maybe you could drop that in chat, or so if you could drop that in chat. But feel free to reach out. We're here to help, and absolutely have no problem doing a free SEO audit, or just kind of walk you through what your strategy is at no obligation. So let's create visibility that lasts. And thanks again. And remember, marketing starts when you stop chasing the algorithm and you start building beyond that. With that, if we've got Joshua on, Joshua, if you can turn on your camera, if we have any questions, we could certainly take those now, or any technical questions. If you start talking H1 headers and H3 headers and things like that, we'll get Joshua here to help us. But do we have any questions in chat? Nothing? Okay.
Today.
All right. Not today. All right. Well, thank you for everyone who attended, and I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week and have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Thank you.